Hey, what's going on, dudes and dudettes? It's your boy Innocence, and today I think I got a pretty decent one for you guys. You know, we're all not too far detached from the absolute abomination of a year that was 2020, so I wouldn't blame anyone for wanting to get as far away as possible from that number. Well, today, that's what this video is going to be about. We're all gamers here, and if there's one thing I've always personally loved about video games, it's their ability to bring me up and tell a story, or make countless hours seem like nothing, or even help me cope with whatever mess the world is going through at the given moment. They're a huge part in helping me relax, so even though 2020 is behind us, it seems to me that games are now playing a bigger role than ever in helping to keep us happy. So naturally, I decided to compile a list of the top games of the year that you as a gamer should be looking forward to and potentially consider picking up. Now, this video is by no means a concrete list. I'm just one person and I won't be able to predict all the 2021 sleepers or the 2021 busts. I mean, in fairness, could anybody have predicted the absolute hit that was Among Us or the absolute bust that was Cyberpunk 2077? Probably not. So these are just the games that you should keep your eye on to see what might happen, because in my opinion, they definitely have potential. Oh, and I wanted to get as much variation on this list as I could, so you'll see a bit of multiplayer, single player, FPSs, third person, RPGs, and anything else that comes to mind. So without further ado, let's head into the first category, the obvious Sizz. So this section is basically a list of games that already have a large enough hype train behind them and don't really need my help spreading positive opinions since you probably were gonna play them anyway. I won't spend much time talking about them since, let's be serious, each of these games are gigantic in their own right, but they definitely deserve the mention, which is why I created this section in the first place. Think of it as an honorable mentions, and honorable mentions above the regular mentions, so to speak. But anyways, to top this list, we have God of War Ragnarok, which, fun fact, isn't even confirmed to be called Ragnarok. While looking for whatever information I could get about this game, Wikipedia reminded me that though Ragnarok was mentioned at the end of the teaser trailer we're all so familiar with, it never explicitly mentioned a title, and no developer has ever confirmed Ragnarok as the real subtitle. So this game could still end up being called anything. As it turns out, Ragnarok might just be a fan name. That interesting tidbit aside though, I'm pretty excited for this game, even though we know absolutely nothing about it. I'm not gonna say much more since I'm sure we've all at least heard of God of War 2018, or at least heard the iconic boy. And if this game is anything like its predecessor, it's definitely going to be one hell of a trip. The next God of War is slated for a 2021 release date. The next obvious title is Horizon Forbidden West. Now this is a game from Guerrilla Games that definitely has a lot to live up to. The original Horizon game was definitely a sleeper title in my mind that blew up far beyond anybody's expectations. And the basic premise of this game is similar to the first in that Aloy is on a journey to save her people once again. But this time her aim is to stop a mysterious disease that is ravaging the lands. Taking place in Nevada and California, Horizon Forbidden West is slated for a 2021 release date. To continue, the next obvious game is Resident Evil 8 Village. Now I get it, a lot of us don't really handle scary games very well, including myself, but this is definitely one of the most anticipated horror games of the year, especially after the surprise success 2017's Resident Evil 7 was. We don't really have much information about it, besides the fact that somehow, someway, our main protagonist Ethan Winters has gotten himself into yet another horror story situation, as if he didn't have enough scares from the last time around. And the wife that we spent about 10 hours rescuing and curing in the last game is probably dead. Either that or she's been repossessed by something else, which for the sake of my patience might honestly be worse. Either way, Resident Evil 8 is slated for release on May 7th, 2021. And now, our final entry in the obvious section is Far Cry 6. Now, we've all probably heard of a Far Cry game at least once in our lives, and that's for good reason. They're usually filled with absolutely hilarious gameplay and a great story to boot, typically driven by the main antagonist, which is very contrary to how most writers like to tell their stories. And that's because Ubisoft is really good at making great villains. Villains who honestly entice you to the point that you might honestly feel like you're the one who's crazy. And after watching the Far Cry 6 reveal trailer a couple months ago, I doubt this story will be any different. This game looks like a true return to form, and if you haven't watched the reveal trailer yet, I'd highly recommend you go ahead and do that. Far Cry 6 is slated for a release sometime in 2021. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the main list, or as I like to call it, the regular mentions. I'm not even going to ramble on, let's just get straight into it. The first title that we're going to be talking about is Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Everyone kind of forgot about this game, or at least I did. I remember making a bit of content about it back in the summer, but after my 1 or 2 videos, it kind of just disappeared off my radar. We didn't hear very much about it aside from the gameplay demos and trailers that we already had for months now, and there doesn't seem to be any new information floating anywhere on the web. But I'm still excited for it. Why, you ask? Well, as someone who's never actually played a Ratchet & Clank game in their life, I am absolutely stunned by how gorgeous this game looks and how destructible the environment is. I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say that this game's particle physics / graphics is by far the best I've seen in my entire life, and that's coming from a PC player. It's also not much of a surprise that this is widely considered to be one of the first titles that will take full advantage of the PlayStation 5's ridiculously fast SSD, and you could totally see that in the trailers themselves. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is slated for release sometime in 2021. Our next title is Deathloop. Deathloop is a completely brand new IP from Bethesda, and the concept of it is pretty interesting. If you haven't already heard, in Deathloop you'll play as Colt, an expert assassin with some really witty banter, and your job is to assassinate 8 targets before midnight in order to escape the island you're currently trapped on. But here's the catch: if you don't do it by midnight, or you happen to die in the process, you'll be sent back in time to try again, as a game mechanic. Our main protagonist is stuck in a perpetual state of life and death until you as the player somehow manage to figure out how to get him out of it. And it's not like every life will be the same as just reattempting a game level, as with every death you gain new insights, meet new characters, and possibly do things that you didn't have time to do in a previous life. Here, your own real-world knowledge that you will accumulate over time will be critical to beating this game, and I can't tell you how cool of a concept that seems to me. Oh, and I should also mention that there is another protagonist in this game named Juliana Blake, who for some reason is aware of your death loop, which can't be said for everyone else, and seems to think of it as good, and therefore tries to protect it. So, she obviously tries to kill you. A lot. Guess we're gonna have to figure out her deal too. Deathloop is slated for release on May 21st, 2021. Our next title is one you're probably familiar with if you watched my last video, and that is Dying Light 2. Now, I won't get super into why you should be excited for this game, because like I said, I did an entire video on it last week, so go check that out if you're interested. But this game is definitely one you should not be sleeping on. Dying Light 2, like the first game, is an awesome zombie parkour game, and yes, you heard that correctly, a zombie parkour game that features a new protagonist named Aiden Codwell and his journey to make his life less of a living hell in post-apocalyptic Europe. This game is going to have a heavy focus on player decisions, customization, and branching storylines, and yes, it is in fact coming out. A lot of people, including myself, seem to have thought this game development was on an indefinite hiatus, but that doesn't seem to be the case, and this game looks as great as ever. Again, check out my video from last week, which I'll link in the description if you're interested to find out more. Dying Light 2 does not have a developer confirmed release date, but it is rumored to be arriving in 2021. Our next game is Hollow Knight Silksong. Now this is one that's gonna throw a lot of you guys for a loop. I bet none of you even know what this is. Jokes aside, Hollow Knight Silksong is the sequel to the brilliantly developed Hollow Knight that came out back in 2017. The original Hollow Knight was about a 30-hour adventure that you honestly wouldn't regret if you picked it up this instant, and it's only $15, so this is me literally telling you to go play Hollow Knight, because this game stars the Knight, which is this little guy, and is very well written and explores a lot of deeper topics that you wouldn't expect a game with this art style to even attempt to do. But it's basically about him trying to protect as well as uncover the secrets of a nearly lost society. The second game, however, Silksong, doesn't even feature him as the protagonist. Instead, it features Hornet, a female character who actually played a major role in the first game, as she attempts to... Well, if I told you the whole synopsis, it would go into minor spoiler territory for the first game. So you're just going to have to trust me on this one. If this sequel is anywhere near as good as the first, it's definitely going to be worth the buy. I mean, just look at these Steam reviews. I've never seen a game reviewed so positively, and if that doesn't get you to at least consider it, I don't know what will. Hollow Knight Silksong is slated for release sometime within the next century. Hopefully. Our next game is Kena, Bridge of Spirits. Kenna Bridge of Spirits is a new IP from Ember Lab, and honestly we don't really know much about it aside from the trailer we got a couple of months ago, and all I can really tell you is a little bit about the people behind it. So, Ember Lab is actually a studio composed of only 15 people, and it was founded in 2009 by brothers Josh and Mike Greer. Originally, the team focused on creating animated shorts as well as making commercials, but one day someone got up and said, let's make a video game, which is obviously the next logical step in studio evolution. So they reached out to Sony and pitched the idea for Kenna, to which Sony graciously accepted, and in 2016 they officially began work on their first title. So here we have a young studio who we know is especially talented from their prior works, who just managed to get funded by Sony and is due to be releasing their first game. I personally just want to see how this goes, and from past experience, younger studios typically put in a lot more soul into their work to solidify themselves as the new kid on the block, so I don't doubt that they'll probably shove all their blood, sweat, and tears into this project. That and the fact that I'm really looking forward to playing as Kenna. She looks like an absolute joy of a character that is probably going to have a sick coming of age story as she attempts to restore her village to its prior glory using the help of the spirits she is able to form such close connections to. Kenna Bridge of Spirits is slated for release in March 2021. And now onto the final entry on this list, Returnal. Okay, I know. This game did not have the best announcement trailer 7 months ago. I remember first watching it and thinking to myself, oh great, another filler game to boost Sony stock. But over the coming months, I've really started to change my opinion on this game and deemed that it might be in fact one of the sleepers of 2021. And I completely locked on that opinion once I saw the recently released gameplay trailer, because honestly, it looks ridiculously good. And it also happens to be the first, and this is not a joke, the first truly fully exclusive PlayStation 5 title. That's right, no PS4 and no PC. And what that means is that developers might have a field day with the SSD inside the PS5 and do some really crazy things with it. And it's not just that either, even the DualSense in the Tempest 3D spatial audio system will be fully utilized now. Again, looking at the gameplay trailer, this game doesn't look like it's the half-baked product I originally thought. In fact, it looks damn good. The basic synopsis is that an astronaut named Celine crashes and lands on a barren world, to which she is forced to fight tooth and nail for every second of her survival. Of course, she is trying her best to escape, but here's the twist. Like Deathloop, every time she dies, she gets thrown back into the same psychological torture. She must be going crazy. Returnal is slated for release on March 19th, 2021. And with that concludes our main list of games you should definitely consider looking into for 2021. But I didn't want to leave you guys hanging on such an empty note, since there are so many great games coming out this year. Basically, here are some honorable mentions. The Outlast Trials, Back 4 Blood, Gran Turismo 7, Nier Replicant Remastered, and The Gunk. And yup, that pretty much goes it for games I personally think are worth your time this year. Let me know if I missed anything down below or if I included something that I shouldn't have. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and be sure to let me know all your opinions down below in the comments. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you disliked the dislike, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss a future upload on the channel. Oh, and hit that bell notification button if you're so inclined. I've been Innocence, you've been the audience, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.